Om Shanti. The very simple but powerful expression that comes in the Gita is Man Mana Bhav. Focus your mind on me alone. And then Baba gives us a whole lot of detail about what's going on with the mind and how to be able to train it and discipline it. And in the last Murli, Baba used the expression mind control. And so, how do you do it? The sages and saints have tried for thousands of years and then have given up and said, it's beyond us, it's not possible. And yet, Baba's telling us that it's easy, it's simple. Who do you believe? The sages and saints who say, oh, it's impossible? Or Baba who says, it's very simple, it's very easy? Who believes Baba? Good. That's why you're here. But then the question, well, how can we make it simple so that truly I have a guarantee that in the final moments my mind won't go here or there, but it'll be focused and stable on Baba alone. Well, like Baba tells us, the discipline and the practice has to be today so that that habit stays with us and is with us for a long period of time. It takes one action to perform to create a habit, but once a habit is created, it's self-perpetuating. It goes on and on and on and on and on. And then to try and break that habit really gives sometimes a lot of grief to people. I've had habits and I don't want them, I want to finish them, and it's not so easy. And so Baba teaches us how to transform our habits. And one very simple, beautiful method that Baba has taught us is give the mind a timetable. How many of you have experienced being without a job, being unemployed? A few, probably a good number. But why I'm asking that question is that when you have a job to go to and your timetable is fixed, you have to be at a certain place, you have to do something at a certain time, your whole timetable, your routine is very clearly laid out. And it feels as if at the end of the day, your day has been very rich, very fulfilling. It's been fulfilled. But then, when there are periods when you don't have a set timetable and a set framework in that way, usually what I've seen is that then at the end of the day you ask yourself, well, what did I do all day? And it'll feel as if you had all the time in the world, but you didn't actually do very much. Sometimes people used to say to me, oh, but if we don't have a job, we could do so much service. And yet, of course, when they are free and they're not disciplined, then it's not service that they're doing, but it's time just slipping away from their fingers without realizing what it is that is happening. And so to be aware, to be alert, and whether I have a job that's fixing my timetable externally, or whether it's me fixing my time myself personally, it's important to be able to follow that discipline. We've had that experience. They say that if you want to get something done, ask a busy person. Because a busy person will schedule their time and they will get things done. And a person who's free Well, maybe they're free because they're not quite sure how to discipline their time. And so they'll say, I'll do it, I'll do it, I'll do it, but it actually never happens. And exactly the same thing happens with the mind. Set a timetable for your mind, and the mind will follow that discipline. And if it's straying out of that code of conduct, out of that line, then you're aware of it, you know it, and you bring it back. But you don't set a discipline of a timetable for your mind, then traffic control comes and you ask yourself, well, what did I do over the last hour? Where was my mind going? Yes, maybe externally I was doing the things I needed to do. But at the end of the day, I ask myself, did I use my thoughts, my breath, my time in a worthwhile way? And you know what the answer is going to be. But setting a timetable, Baba's just simply used that expression. But how does one do it? And Baba has explained it to us, but it's been like in different Murlis. And so then you have to pull out what Baba has said in different Murlis and put it together into a package so that then it becomes clear what Baba means by timetable. I want to give a few examples, and then you'll be able to see how to use those examples for yourself in your own life. For example, one is the subject of all relationships with God. And I think this is the fundamental one that maybe many of you have already experimented with. So the framework for that, early morning, I'm a child, and my mind stays focused on the mother and the father. And then I'm a student, and my mind stays focused on the Supreme Teacher, and I, the student, studying God's teachings. You can be hearing the most beautiful Murli, but if I'm not focused on being a student and studying the things that Baba's teaching me, then as I hear it, the sound sounds very lovely, but I haven't actually taken anything that's going to be nourishing for the mind from it. But I sit in the awareness of being a student, listening to God's versions, and as God speaks, I understand, and not only understand, but I absorb and fill myself with those teachings. And so the experience of the Murli through that period is really a time of yoga. I'm connecting with Baba, I'm staying in that awareness, and the other day Baba said, if you're yawning, it means that it's not lack of oxygen, but your intellect is wandering. And at first it seemed, how does Baba make that connection? And somebody said the other day that on the one side you're listening and it's going in here and it's reaching in here, but if you're yawning, it's all going out through here. But the point is that if you're interested in something, you won't be distracted, you won't be yawning. But if your mind is here and there, how can it stay focused? So, understanding who is speaking and then being able to stay in that consciousness and absorb the knowledge that God is giving. Now that is a time in which it's, like Baba said today, earning an income every moment. Through the day, what do? Keep checking with Baba. Baba's the boss. Am I doing things the way I should? If there's an employee who wants to move ahead quickly, then they make sure that they work according to the instructions of the boss. Not that they think it should be done like this, but how is it that the boss wants to get it done? And so then that attention, and then there's the possibility of actually doing it in the right way and learning and being able to move forward. So through the day of karma yoga, and let it be that, it's not just karma, 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 but it's karma yoga. And I'm doing it connected with Baba in yoga, and I'm checking with my boss, is this how it should be done? So through the day, I can make sure that I keep God as my boss. I can make sure that I keep God as my friend. Because a boss might just be a relationship which isn't one of sweetness. Have to follow the directions. But a friend, a lot of love and sweetness. And so through the day, as I'm doing my work, from time to time, when I have a moment of leisure, I don't even have to lift the phone, and it's nothing that's visible. Nobody's going to be able to tell me off, why are you wasting company time? But a silent connection in which I'm able to connect with Baba and just have a chat with Baba. When you're talking to your friend, you suddenly realize you've been on the phone for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and time has flashed past. And so Baba, my friend. And if I'm doing this through the day, two things happen which are very beautiful. One is that following the instructions of my boss, my actions will be accurate. Forgetting to follow who my boss is and not asking for his directions, my actions can go a little bit curved and away from the straight line. But checking with the boss and doing what I need to, and it'll be following the direct line of action that I need to take. But the second thing that happens, which is internal and is very, very important, if I keep connecting with my friend, then if there's a situation that I need to resolve, just connecting with my friend will help me resolve that situation so that my feelings stay very cool, very calm. Thoughts, feelings, both are aspects of the mind. So when Baba used the word the other day, mind control, Baba was not just talking about thoughts scattering or concentrated, but Baba was also talking about keeping feelings very pure, very good feelings. Today Baba spoke a lot about bhavna, my feelings, and my bhav, my intentions. My intention is that I should move towards the destination of becoming like the Father, and the process of that is one in which I have to come into connection with many others, and through that be able to share and give, because that's what the Father does. Then I can reach that destination of becoming like the Father. It isn't the other way round, that I become like the Father and then I start sharing and giving. But no, the process of sharing and giving is going to make me become like the Father. And so keeping in touch with Baba as my friend means that if there are things that maybe a year ago, 5 years ago, I would have reacted to, today, instantly, communication with my friend. And I lighten the burden that's in my heart so that it doesn't stay there. Something happens and I carry it and I hold it and it stays with me. What are my feelings going to be like? not feelings that I would like to have. And so keeping a timetable for the mind has an immediate repercussion on the external level in terms of my actions and on the inner level in terms of my feelings. If there are situations that are causing upheaval and I'm getting disturbed, my feelings are getting a little bit upset, then what's going to happen to my yoga? Well, we've had that experience, and the result of all of that is that my yoga isn't going to be as it should be. I'm not going to be able to feel Baba's presence and Baba's company. But something happens and I process it. I debrief with Baba, my friend, and my heart becomes light. I don't carry that burden anymore, and so I can have good yoga, but also I can continue to keep moving forward. And so through the day, Baba, my boss, the right instructions, and also Baba, my friend, so that my heart stays full of good feelings and good wishes for all. And it's healthy for me, and of course it's good for relationships, and it's very important for the atmosphere, for all of these things. At the end of the day, whatever has been the day's work, that's complete. Then, just simply to let the mind be with Baba, the angel, and serve the world through giving those vibrations. Angels circle above the earth in the hours of dusk. That's our memorial. At one point, Avyakt Baba had told a group of us, it was Baba's children from abroad who were chatting to Baba on stage in the 80s in Om Shanti Bhavan. And Baba said to us, you know, people think that they see flying saucers, and people been investigating, what are these flying saucers? But that's actually all of you. All of you are circling above the earth and sharing your vibrations of God's light and love. And so people don't see you as human, they see you as something up above circling around, and they don't know how to describe it. And so they say that there's flying saucers. But that's you. So in the evening, the timetable for the mind, a full stop to whatever has happened through the day, the mind clear, connecting with Baba, and at that moment experiencing this beautiful stage of serving the globe in Baba's company. And then, at night, the chart, the checking of accumulation of loss, profit and loss and balance. How much is there in my account that I've saved? How much more did I add to my account today? And was there anything that I lost today? Baba Murli gave us a lot of detail and information about profit and loss today, very, very clearly. And so at the end of the day, the mind disciplined in terms of being able to look at what's happened and sort out profit and loss. Sometimes, well, certainly, before we come to Baba, we don't even realize that there's constant loss that's happening all the time, that we're getting further and further and further into debt. We don't even know that. And now, becoming Baba's child, I see the contrast. When I'm doing that which is right, when I'm thinking of that which is right, then my mind is going to have the right consciousness and I'm accumulating. I feel full and content. And the other side, when waste thoughts and thoughts that are not as Baba would want, then of course I feel very discontent, and I don't realize that I am the cause of my own discontent. That's maybe the most dangerous things that happen, that instead of accepting responsibility for the self, we very quickly put the responsibility and the blame on someone, something else. But to know that I'm responsible, and to focus my attention inwards and to check, well, what were my thoughts like? What were my feelings like? And if my thoughts and my feelings would have been different, would there have been a different type of interaction? Yes, definitely. My thoughts and my feelings reach the other, and whatever feelings they had approached me with, that my feelings are so strong that they get impacted, and the conversation doesn't flow in the way that I wanted it to. But that's because I wasn't using the right method. And the right method, Baba describing it today, have the intention of seeing each other as a soul, and have those good wishes and good feelings for absolutely everyone, not just the Brahmin family, but the whole wide, unlimited family. Being able to see everyone in that way. And so, this is one way, using the relationships with Baba to be able to discipline the mind and have it follow a timetable. Any one of the other titles that Baba has given us, use any one of those and you'll be able to see how you can apply it in that particular context. And why Baba gives us so many titles is because Baba is full of everything, and so his children, Baba sees that same vision, that they too are full of everything. Maybe we are not, but Baba wants us to be. And so Baba is reminding us that this is who you are, the child of God, and this is who you can be. And so with that reminder, we rise to that stage and we become that also. So the other title that I want to take up now is the title that Baba has been reminding us of recently a great deal. And that's because we need it more and more and more in our life at the present moment. And that is the title of Master Almighty Authority. It's a title that you couldn't have imagined that God was going to give you. And yet, here is this amazing, amazing title. And have I actually spent time reflecting on it, considering it, and feeling it, and thinking about how it applies and how it works? I probably haven't. Maybe I have, but maybe I haven't experimented with it. Churning is one thing, and experimentation is another thing. And then coming to the experience is the third step. So first churning, thinking about it deeply so that I understand. And then experimenting with it. And then thirdly then, the experience of it. And so, Master Almighty Authority. Early morning, I begin the day, and I remember that I have to use the very, very first power that Baba has described. The power to be able to go inside. If I begin the day putting this tilak, anointing myself with soul consciousness, the stage of introversion, then things are going to move in a very different way through the whole day. If I begin the day forgetting this, just extrovert, this identity, then how the day unfolds will be, again, quite different. And so the timetable for the mind. The morning, I start with the first power that Baba has described. The power to turn inwards. The power to be able to be introverted. And what I find, if I begin the morning absolutely in that state of introversion, I become aware of who I am. My self-esteem rises. So you begin the day with that intoxication of who you are. You don't give yourself time to create that awareness, then through the day, trying to capture that feeling or that experience is hard work. But in the early morning, time for me with Baba and no one else. No one needs me at that moment. Spending time introverted, connecting with Baba, and I can only connect with Baba through the stage of being introverted. If I'm not feeling a connection with Baba, and I'm saying, well, I'm not experiencing Baba's love. Has Baba withdrawn his love? Does Baba ever withdraw his love? It's actually quite amazing. Even if I make mistakes, Baba doesn't withdraw his love. Why? Because Baba knows that there's no one else who can help me. There's nowhere else I can go. People in Bhakti or in Lokik life discover this maybe after several hard knocks. And maybe as Brahmins, because we're fortunate, we haven't needed to have those hard knocks. But really, that experience of going in and being able to connect with one and having access to that one, and everything that Baba has, Baba's wanting to give to me. And so I begin the day with the power of introversion. Then through the day, every moment along the way, pack it up, pack it up, pack it up. Don't get into expansion. Don't get into extension. It's a huge drain of energy, both mentally as well as verbally, but also physically. I'll come to that in a minute. Mentally, my mind gets scattered. I see, I hear, my physical senses distract me, and I go chasing after the things outside. And the power I'd accumulated at Amrit Veda, all of that disappears. And so through the day, interaction, activity, situations, something's happened, I deal with it, finish, pack it up, put it away. I very consciously experimented with this idea. When something happens, you know how it's in your mind. And so whoever comes in front of you, you talk about it. Even if they're not necessarily connected with that particular situation, because it's foremost in your mind. You have the habit of speaking about it. Well, what's happening at that moment is that before I can speak about it, it means that it must be going on and on and on and on in my mind. And if I've spoken about it, it's not only impacted another person's mind, but it's also generated another cloud of waste thoughts. I'm already creating my own cloud, but I'm speaking about it to somebody who's not connected with that particular situation, and I'm generating this cloud that's going to, again, haze everything. It's going to make everything very unclear. And so some years ago, I decided if there's a situation which is challenging, not to talk about it. Not keeping it secret or not hiding it, but simply not broadcasting it. Human nature, something's happened, you keep talking about it. And sometimes people keep talking about things that happened 20 years ago. Not even just the situations now, but something that hurt them very deeply or scarred them very deeply. They can't forget it and they have to keep talking about it. But of course, the more they talk about it, the more that situation of pain again stays emerged. And in situations of the present, something's happened, and I talk about it here and there and there and there. The more I'm wasting my energy, the more hot air, literally, that's being created and is impacting others and the atmosphere. The less likely it is that there'll be a resolution. But I stay calm. I stay quiet, using the discipline of full stop that Baba's taught me. It's not that I'll not take active steps to try and resolve the situation, but I'll talk about it at a place that's useful, at a place that's going to bring me some solution, not here and there. And so, the power to pack up, the discipline for the mind through the day. Mustn't let my thoughts get into extension. If I get my words into extension, huge loss of energy and a waste of a huge amount of my time and the other person's time. And so really to be able to learn that, to pack up and say, okay, it's happened, it's finished, full stop. And if I keep applying a full stop, the more likely it is that Baba will be able to touch me or touch somebody else and find a solution so that things can work towards a resolution. Another power to use through the day, the discipline for the mind, tolerance and merging. I'm putting both together. In a sense, they're an extension one of the other. And so, something happens, and at first I say, okay, it's all right. I'm not going to react. And I tolerate it. Not tolerate it in the sense of really suppressing things, but tolerating it with the power that God gives, that it's okay, it doesn't matter. But it still stays in my mind. And to the stage even beyond that, through the day, I'm practicing. Can I merge this? It's happened. Yes, I tolerated at that moment. It was good. I had Baba's power. But now, can I merge it? Can I finish it? Again, situations come where I have to have very, very clear discerning capacity. I haven't packed up. I haven't merged. My discernment is totally messed up. I'm not going to be able to see the reality for what it is. And so again, the practice, the power of decision making, to be able to judge, what should I do, what should I say, what should I not do, what should I not say. Baba was saying, look through your timetable and see how much loss has there been and how much profit has there been, how much have you accumulated. Well, connected with that, I'd like to suggest, through the day, whatever has happened, at the end of the day, just ask yourself, did I use the blessing of powers that God gave me? Was I able to discern? Was I able to decide? And did I have the capacity to put that decision through into action, facing whatever situations may have come? And if I've done all of that, the visible proof of all of this will be, there'll be a beautiful atmosphere of cooperation. And if I haven't done my homework in going through all of these different processes, it's unlikely that there'll be cooperation. Then I'll complain and I say, you see, nobody cooperates with me. But if I haven't learned to tolerate, if I haven't learned to make decisions, then people will say, well, it's a waste of our time being with them. What are we supposed to be cooperating in? But I'm seeing their specialties. My discernment capacity is letting me see the goodness within them. And I'm learning how to work with them, use those for the benefit of Baba's task, use those to be able to come close to each other. And of course, cooperation happens very beautifully. So that's the second method, to use one of the titles that belongs to God, but God has given to us. And I've just described one title that Baba has given. Every day, Baba gives us so many, many different titles. I want to take up another aspect. You see, Baba gives us a whole variety of things to play with for two reasons. So that the mind is given fresh food every single day. And out of Baba's Murli, you choose what is going to be the timetable for my mind today. What am I going to experiment with according to my timetable? And because the mind is then engaged in something constructive, it's ruminating, it's chewing on the food that Baba has given. There's strength and health and there's contentment. The other thing that happens, if I don't give my mind a task, my mind creates a vacuum. And you know what's going to come in and occupy that vacuum? Negative things, things from the past, criticism. It's not going to be good things, it's going to be the negative things. Or even where I'm not actively very alert and keeping myself engaged in using Baba's Gyan and experimenting with the ways of having good yoga, I'll get bored. And then in that space in which the mind is a little bit bored, I'll go play with my computer, I'll go surfing on the net, I'll read a novel, I'll phone a friend and have a good gossip and chat. All of these things happen because we're not sustaining ourselves. Sustaining myself means looking after my soul. Just as a mother will sustain a child and look after the child's mind and body, a good mother won't just make sure that the child is being given good food, but the good mother will also sustain and help generate the creativity of the intellect, the brain of the baby, and play games and entertain the baby. And that's a fact, it's a reality. That creativity in infancy from age 0 to age 2, and the formation of the brain happens through all of that. Fact. But I, as the mother of my mind, and brothers are also mothers in this respect. So if I, as the mother of my mind, I'm not alert and not attentive to giving it that stimulation and creativity and keeping it entertained with something new, something fresh, something from Baba's Murli today, then the mind is going to be filled with distractions, other things that are coming in. And so very, very important that I do this work for myself. And so the third subject that I'm going to take up, I love the image of a lighthouse. And Baba has told us that you're a lighthouse, and there are two different aspects of spirituality that Baba reminds us of whenever Baba talks about lighthouse. One, the spinning of the discus. And just like the lighthouse spins and is shedding light in all directions to save people from coming onto the rocks, but also to guide people to move in the right direction. And so the spinning of the discus, and so how does that help me through the day? But also, lighthouse means something else. If you think about the Sakar Murlis, you'll remember that Baba always uses the term lighthouse, and then Baba will say, in one eye, Mukti, and in the other eye, Jivan Mukti. So what that means is that my vision is focused on my home, the destination to which I have to go. And my vision is focused on the world which is to come. I have to go home, then I have to be ready to come into that new world. So Mukti and Jivan Mukti, both in my eyes. I begin the day and I remember my home is up there. And for that period of silent time with Baba, I'm not just remembering Baba, but I'm also experiencing that state of being in the land of Mukti, of being in that place which is the place of purity and silence. I'm allowing myself the joy of experiencing my home. And then, through the day, as I engage in activity, I spin the discus. I'm awakening, I'm emerging the sanskars of being the top knot, the highest state of the mouth-born progeny of Brahma. I'm experiencing the elevated stage of being a Brahmin. And then the cycle moves on. I allow myself to experience the angelic stage, which is also merged within me. All of these things are there merged within the soul. And then I allow the emergence of the divine sanskars of the Golden Age. What Baba is telling us to do nowadays is to actually reveal the Golden Age through our activity, our behavior here and now. When Baba uses the expression, when you reveal yourself, you'll be able to reveal the Father. That's what it means. Let me emerge the sanskar that is there within me of the Golden Age. It's there. I don't have to battle for it and try and reach it, but it's there. And so I emerge it. Is this the way the mind of a deity would work? Is this the behavior of a deity? If the mind is emerging the deity qualities, then my behavior is going to reflect those deity qualities. I haven't given my mind that solid good food of spinning the discus of self-realization through the day. My mind is going to have ordinary thoughts. I'm going to forget who I truly am. And I won't have that dignity. I won't have that nobility. And so, of course, my behavior is going to be then according to that. But I emerge that awareness of who I am, self-realization, the discus through the day. And then at times, yes, I'm the Brahman, active, engaged, but elevated karma. And at times when I have a moment, I can be the angel and just simply radiate that light. And next moment, I can emerge the divine virtues, those divine qualities that have been remembered in the deities that Baba's children have as a reality, not just as a memorial. And so through the day, spinning the discus of self-realization. Believe me, give yourself this homework for a day. One day. Mind control, discipline for the mind, timetable for the mind. And by the end of the day, you'll see a difference. The beautiful thing is that in Sangam Yuga we make this much effort, and Baba gives us so much, not just help, but also reward. Why? Because Baba sees that I'm trying, I'm making effort. If Baba sees that, well, I'm listening to the Murali and then through the day I'm lost in my own Lokik world. Even living in a center, you can still be in a Lokik world. In the sense that there's so much activity and action. There's cooking to be done, there's cleaning to be done, there's organization to be done, there's travel to be arranged, there's all those external things that need to happen. But during all of that, my alokik consciousness, my timetable, the elevated thoughts that Baba wants me to have. And then that lokik is no more lokik. It becomes alokik. I've given 3 detailed examples. Do you remember which ones? The relationships with God, the Master Almighty Authority, and the lighthouse. And I'll just close with one other, because it's something that is always a little bit of an issue for many, and that is the separation of lokik and alokik. I come to class, that's my alokik life. Then I go back home to my family, and that's my lokik. Or I go to work, and that's my lokik job. And what has Baba told us? No. I'm God's child. I am not of this lokik world. My birth is alokik. It's spiritual, it's divine, it's unique. And so I stay in that alokik consciousness and keep that as the timetable for my mind to keep checking. Is my mind aware of the alokik? Coming to work, it's alokik. It's an opportunity to do things with a different vibration, to do things with a different quality. Family, lokik. Yes, lokik of this lok, this physical universe. But yet, I'm not of the physical universe. I am a lokik. What I have to do is now to be able to share from that alokik perspective and see my lokik family who are not interested in Gyan, but I have to see them with that vision of being God's children, my alokik vision will transform them. And so, using Baba's knowledge and playing with it and experimenting with it is making a timetable for your mind, so that then your mind doesn't get pulled onto a mundane level and you're able to keep that happiness that Baba wants you to have. Om Shanti. I'm not going to join you for the meditation, but I hope something has been organized for people to conduct meditation. I'm going to take your leave. Om Shanti.